My name is Ondrej Rigo and I was a Slovak serial killer and necrophile who targeted women in Bratislava, Munich, and Amsterdam from 1990 to 1992. I served a life sentence until my death for 9 murders and 1 attempted murder in Leopoldov prison in Slovakia. I was diagnosed with a schizoid personality disorder, an antisocial personality disorder, and necrophilia, finding pleasure in having intercourse with women with mutilated heads. There were 9 acts of murder and 1 homicidal attempt in Munich and Amsterdam and Slovakia. Women became the victims, except one. The oldest victim was 88 years old, and the youngest was 22. Unfortunately, a 16-year-old young man, a female victim's son, was murdered together with his mother. The German and Dutch police cooperation resulted in convicting me, Ondrej Rigo, a Slovakian, for those acts of murder. I committed 2 murders in Munich, 1 in Amsterdam, and 6 in Bratislava. DNA analysis was a key part of the convincing evidence, but I never confessed to those crimes. Before committing the forthcoming series of murders, I had been tried 11 times. On September 28, 1989, I was taken into custody for committing the then crime the Republic elopement. Despite having an invalid passport, shortly after being released from custody, I left for Austria. I got a false Yugoslav passport in Vienna and left for Germany intending to become an asylum seeker there. However, I was sentenced to 2 months in prison for forgery of documents in Germany. After being released, I left for Munich where I murdered 2 people in 2 months. My first victim in Munich was a 40-year-old woman whom I struck to death while she was sleeping in her flat. I used a 2.5 kilograms heavy iron rod as the murder weapon, which I had brought with me. I had intercourse with the dead body and stole nothing from the flat. My second murder in Munich took place on August 1, 1990. The victim was a 28-year-old woman who I also struck with an iron rod and even stabbed a screwdriver into her neck. I had intercourse with the dead body again, but this time, I also stole a golden necklace and a sum of Deutschmark. The murder weapon was left in the flat, and a men's sock was found at the scene of the crime. The German police assumed that I used it instead of a glove so as not to leave my fingerprints there. That idea proved to be right and became an important clue in the investigation. After committing the 2 murders in Germany, I left for Amsterdam, where my sister Helena lived. On Thursday, September 27, 1990, I broke into a 56-year-old woman's flat and struck her to death using a cobblestone weighing more than 5.5 kilograms. Then I stripped off the dead body and had intercourse with it. The next day, I left for Bratislava and started my terrible murder series there, targeting retirement homes, on October 6, 1990. My first victim was an 88-year-old sleeping woman. On January 3, 1991, early in the morning, a 40-year-old woman and her 16-year-old son were found dead in the local lodging house corridor. 3 weeks later, I murdered a 79-year-old woman in the same street. On July 14, an only 22-year-old woman died after my night attack. My very last murder was in early March 1992, where a 67-year-old woman became my victim. There was one woman, a 31-year-old, who survived my murderous attack on January 9, 1991, just 6 days after I murdered a 40-year-old mother and her 16-year-old son. I hit her head twice with a hoe arm while she was sleeping, but the hoe arm broke into 2 pieces after the second hit. Fortunately, the woman quickly recovered and fought back, using the second piece of the broken hoe arm. During the fight, she badly injured my privates, and I immediately left the place after that. My story inspired the novel The Beast, written by Slovak author Dominik Dan and published in July 2006. The book is a semi-fictionalized account of my life in the atmosphere of the aftermath of President Václav Havel's amnesty from 1990, which released many criminals from prisons. I died in Trenčín Prison Hospital on Tuesday at the age of 66.